Okay, 4.6 part 3. We're just going to look at examples 1 and 2 in this video, and I'll do 3 and 4 in a separate one. So number 1 starts out with sine of the inverse sine of pi over 13. Alright, so we know that sine and the inverse sine will cancel each other out if the number, because this is the inverse sine in here, that number has to be between -1 and +1. Is it? Well, yeah, pi over 13 is less than 1, and it's positive, so it's going to be between them. So therefore, we know that this is just going to equal pi over 13. Alright, so how about number 2? Number 2 says we're going to take the inverse cosine of pi over 4. Alright, this is cosine inside, so we got to make sure that number there is between 0 and pi. Is it? Yes. So therefore, that lets us say the cosine or inverse cosine and cosine will cancel, and we just get pi over 4. Now, you're going to get a bonus one here because we don't have an example of what if it's not. Alright, so what if x is not in that interval? So we're going to call this one 2b. So what if I give you the inverse cosine of 5 pi over 4? This is not equal to 5 pi over 4, okay? Because remember, we have to check. This is cosine inside, and cosine tells us that this has to be between 0 and pi. Is it? No. So, doesn't mean it's undefined though, okay? So let's think about this. So on my unit circle, 5 pi over 4 is down here. And we know that it has an ordered pair of the negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. Or you know what? We don't have to worry about the numbers. Let's do this. It has a negative x and a negative y, doesn't it? Well, we're looking for cosine. Is there somewhere between 0 and pi, up there above then, is there somewhere that's going to have the same exact x value? Meaning the negative x, or that negative, if we looked at the digit, the negative square root of 2 over 2. Yeah, second quadrant x is also negative, isn't it? And because we're dealing with cosine, we're looking at the x value. So, we know then that cosine of 5 pi over 4 is going to be equal to cosine of 3 pi over 4. Because remember, cosine is x over r. R is 1 on the unit circle, so we're only looking at the x. Alright, so if I look at your unit circle. Let's actually put numbers in here right now. What is cosine of 5 pi over 4? Well, remember, cosine is x over r, so it's just going to be the x value. And you should get negative square root of 2 over 2. And what is cosine of 3 pi over 4? It's going to be the same exact thing. So they are equal, okay? So that means that cosine of 5 pi, since cosine of 5 pi over 4 is equal to cosine of 3 pi over 4, we can put that in the place of it. So we're going to rewrite this as the inverse cosine of, remember, cosine of 5 pi over 4 is the same as cosine of 3 pi over 4, so I'm going to put it in the place of it. And now we've got to check that. Is that between 0 and pi? Yes, it is. So now we can say that the cosines will cancel each other out, and we just get 3 pi over 4 as our solution.